We are beings that train our habits. Meaning, it's not by birth that we are born in a certain way and we have certain behavioral structures. I mean, this is something that we learn as we grow up. So what are the things that we can do as individuals, as an organization, as a community that fosters some kind of value learning in individuals? Regardless of religious backgrounds, regardless of nationality or whatnot. Simple human values. So ethics, from that point of view, as I said, now I'm not looking at it as simply a mechanism to restrain something. That you should not venture into this kind of experiment, or you should not venture into this kind of lifestyle. See, those are things that people need to learn from their insights. But also ethics as a method of optimization, which is that we are here, we have some good qualities. How do we make sure that those good qualities become the predominant qualities in ourselves and in the community that we live in? Because if we don't, then we tend to, as one of the French philosophers, Pierre Bourdieu, used to say that the society has taken this, again, bipolar approach to things. You see, bipolar approach meaning we tend to, when the financial meltdown happens, what do? We blame. We blame people who are corrupt. We blame people who are responsible for it. But then, who were the ones supporting it? You see, who were the ones not asking questions of people like Madoff, when it came to, well, what are you actually doing with my money? How is it that you're giving me 14 or 15% return on it? Meaning, we don't want to know anything about it. Why? Because our primary interest is in the return. And that is the myopia. That's the social myopia. Not knowing how our resources are affecting something. You see? And that is the lack of responsibility from our part. See? And that's why it supports individuals and individuals who create these Ponzi schemes. So the ability to take responsibility for our own actions and not merely looking at short-term results or short-term benefits, but looking at more of the global results. One of the things that I often chuckle these days when I hear President Obama talk, he uses this Buddhist understanding of interdependence quite a fair bit. In many of his speeches, he's talking of an interdependent world. And this is something that, of course, has been instilled in many individuals who are trained in the Buddhist tradition, that we do not live in isolated worlds, we do not live in isolated systems, that our actions, no matter how small, how minuscule, that they continue to impact things on a global scale. And that even has to do with our investments. That has to do with our ability to ask questions or lack thereof. So that is something that often makes me wonder, and that is, again, not something that our educational systems are addressing yet. We make, as I said, good engineers, good doctors, good professors, but do we produce good citizens and good human beings? That is something that educational institutions need to sort of reflect upon again. So, as far as religion as a criteria is concerned, I think it is helpful in some ways and unhelpful in other ways, as religious institutions are also known as institutions to have engaged in many unethical acts. Again, human flaws. But we do not have a very good understanding of what ethics would look like without religious knowledge, what ethics would look like without contributions made by world religions. But does a person need to be religious to be ethical? And my contention is no. You can be a very good human being, a very ethical human being, and not believe in a religion. But then, it again comes to a system of worldview which has to do with accountability. Which is, who are you accountable to? So, maybe in theistic traditions that believes in gods and somebody as an operator up there, looking and taking, documenting every act of yours. Then we tend to become ethical by fear. See why? Because it's all being documented. You see? And at the end, during the judgment day, you see, it will all be read to me. So then again, we tend into this kind of system where we follow ethical regulations or moral conduct because of fear in us. You see, that is our worldview and that is our system of accountability. But then, any moment we don't have this fear, meaning we become disillusioned, say, with God, or we become disillusioned with a religious system, then chances are, again, that we move towards unethical realm. Why? Because our system of accountability became nil. It's absent now. So fear is not a very good platform for ethics. That it shouldn't be that I am ethical or I am virtuous because of fear of something. That's not a very good platform. So looking at, again, an alternate platform. And that alternate platform has to do with, again, the basic human conditioning for a sense of care. That I care about fellow human beings, that I care about environment, I care about the world that I live in, I care about the future generation. I try to optimize that sense of care by becoming a virtuous individual, by giving myself certain kind of guidelines and saying, these are the guidelines that are going to direct the way I conduct myself. These are the guidelines, the way I'll live this life. You see? So when you look at that view of ethics, you're looking at ethics or an ethical lifestyle as a lifestyle that allows you to be content. You see? A lifestyle that allows you to be happy, a lifestyle that allows you to be fulfilled, and moreover, a life that allows you to see meaning in things. So, meaning, the moment you begin to cultivate or generate a sense of ethics or ethical responsibility towards things, out of a sense of care, it brings this whole new world, it opens this whole new dimension of meaningfulness, which many of us lack. You see? Meaning that every day morning, do you waking up and asking yourself the French existentialist question, why am I here? You see? What am I doing? You see? And these are the questions, you see, that become more and more pertinent and become more and more sort of grave in the absence of a sense of meaningfulness. So this is something that gives you a sense of direction, and that's why I think ethical regulation is not something that can be imposed. It is something that one generates for the love of life, for the love of environment, for the love of people around you. It's not something that an institution or a society can impose on you. Because if they did impose on you, it should have worked by now. We have plenty of laws. We have plenty of laws, and we as human beings don't do very well with it. You see, in the 80s, there was this French philosopher, Michel Foucault. And Foucault, in his writings, proposed this idea that, like in ancient times, how when people were punished, it was a public spectacle. And why was it a public spectacle when people were punished? So that it instilled a sense of fear in individuals. This is what happens when you steal. Or this is what happens when you murder somebody and they'll cut off somebody's arm or they'll rip, what's that movie, Braveheart. It gives a very beautiful spectacle of punishment in public. We have gone through thousands of years of that kind of public spectacle of punishment. What have we learned? Nothing. You see, we hear about punishment, we hear about laws today in place, you see, but we follow it at times because of fear. But the moment, you see, you're at a traffic light, you look left and right, there's no cop, you don't care whether it's red or green, you go. You see? Why?